I am constantly amazed by the different ways in which mindfulness enriches day-to-day experiences, whatever they happen to be, and especially those experiences that move us deeply. Welcome back to Mindfulness Voyage. My name is Ted Meissner, and today we're going to be exploring how mindfulness and art intersect and complement one another. Remember, please do like and subscribe to this podcast, and let's meet today's guest. Our guest today is Jolien Posthumus. Jolien, welcome to the podcast. I'm very glad to see you here today.
Thank you so much, Dad. It's a privilege being here and give voice to the work of so many of our colleagues around the world.
Yeah, and that itself is just a wonderful place to start, that there are so many different ways in which mindfulness is meeting people all over the world in so many different ways. But let's start a little bit by just hearing from you about what brought you to mindfulness in the first place.
Hmm. I was meditating for a few years. At the age of 18, received my first certificate to guide a meditation on what I know now is a visualization meditation. And a few years later, a friend of mine went on a retreat and she mentioned something like mindfulness practice. And I got interested and I joined her. And it immediately felt like home. It was connecting so many dots. It had an answer to a question that I had for a very long time. We live life, but how do we do that? And how do we do that to the fullest? So it got really deep the first time that I had a practice. And then a few years later, I re-met the mindfulness practice when I was dealing in the second period of a trauma. And I was working with the team from the hospital in the town that I live, and they offered me the 8-week mindfulness course again. And I thought I knew it, and then I re-entered this whole new depth of the mindfulness practice. So 2 quite memorable moments in my life, I may say. Yes.
Yeah. So many people take a heavier weight course like MBSR or MBCT or other program many times and have shared the same thing that you're mentioning right now, Jolien, is that it's a different experience each time, even when it's the same curriculum, because the people are different. Your understanding, your practice may have matured some, may have slacked off, and how you are in your life has changed as well. So yeah, it's interesting every single time. So since that, how have things progressed for you? Because you're teaching within mental health right now, if I understand correctly. Tell us a little bit about your work.
Yes. So at the same age that I got my first certificate to be able to guide a meditation, it was almost also the same year that I received my diploma for school in applied arts. Not a theoretical school, but really a practical school. So give me a hammer and I'm still at my most happy. Um, and for me, those two were very much linked, working with art, creating things, but also being with art in a passive way. There was really this interconnectedness, and I did not have the words at 18 to describe what it was. And I developed my mindfulness practice quite equally as I have pursued my career working in the cultural sector. And over time, finding words of something I felt in my inner world, meet other people who had that same weird thing that I had, wrote books about it, and took courses, and yeah, so that was on a personal level, and at a professional level, it came together about 8 years ago. I was affiliated with the Healthcare Institute, I worked there with a team of psychologists and psychiatrists delivering the 8-week course. And I noticed that people after the 8-week course were looking for ways to engage with their mindfulness practice outside of the space that we were in, and how do we encounter mindfulness in life. And at that time, I was working at the Van Gogh Museum. I already had played with this idea of bringing mindfulness in a museum. I was working in a different role than I am working with the Van Gogh Museum at this moment. And there was a big event after closing time. And just a moment before the event happened, the whole gallery was silent, and I had to be there with a few other people just before the event happened. And I was so nervous. I can't tell you in words, so nervous for the importance of that evening. And I was not able to close my eyes, and I could not feel my feet on the floor. And I was looking for something to do a 3-minute breathing exercise, a 3-minute meditation. And then my eyes met the eyes of Vincent van Gogh and his self-portrait there in the gallery. And right up in there, I did a 3-minute meditation with Vincent helping me, if you may say it like that. And then I knew that something that was already bubbling, some ideas that I had, it came together that evening in my mind. Museums were not ready, so I was up like, I have this amazing idea. Can I come in? And they were like, yeah, don't know. And then a few years later, mental health became an issue in the community and in society worldwide, and in the Netherlands, of course. And it's the role of the museum to create space to engage with things that are very much alive in society. So they were trying to find ways to bring mental health into museum programs. And then the educational team of the Van Gogh Museum called me and says, "You were that girl that was nagging us with this idea. Come on over and let's have a talk." And that's 5 years now. And the program is still going on in the Van Gogh Museum, and we have widened it to several other museums.
Wow. So lots of progress in these past 5 years, and it's interesting to see how they weren't ready then, but now it has matured enough, and the understanding of mindfulness and how it can apply to different areas of our lives, then they became ready. So timing is everything, and it sounds like it's grown a bit. What are some of the cherished moments for you in these past 5 years of building this and seeing people encounter mindfulness within museums and with art, and how is that helping with their mental health?
Hmm. Well, we have 12 museums in the Netherlands and abroad that we have worked with now, and we have created programs for young adults, for doctors coming into the museums, for the general public. And it's very interesting to see that with every museum, with every collection, with every artwork, we can co-create a beautiful program together. So what we do, I don't bring the 8-week course in a museum. I do that as well for the museum staff. I don't deliver it myself. I ask colleagues to come in to take care of the mental health of the staff of the museum as well, which is very important, of course. But what we do is we bring a deep looking practice. And well, with the help of the work from David Treleaven, and now with the recent scientific insights of the use of our senses within mindfulness practice, it helps me to talk about what we're doing a bit more. The deep looking practice is we work with the artwork as an anchor in our practice. So we come together as a group, we do a brief introduction. Who are you? Are you familiar with the 8-week mindfulness course? And how are you here present in this right moment? Then they look for their own space in the gallery. We have cushions, we have stools, they can stand, whatever is helpful for them in that moment. We do a 5-minute arriving meditation. And then slowly going into a deep looking practice. So I kindly invite them to open their eyes and to be fully present with their sense of seeing. And just look and look and look and look, sometimes for over 40 minutes at the same painting or at different paintings. And you can imagine in those 40 minutes, everything that we encounter in a regular mindfulness practice comes in the practice there as well. People see the artwork and like the artwork, and they have an experience in liking the artwork. Or they encounter the artwork that they don't like or they don't understand, and you can imagine what happens there. And in that meditation guidance, we hope we can support them to see what is happening, to be friendly with it, to have a non-judgmental attitude toward that, to see if they can bring themselves back to a place in that gallery space where they feel comfortable, where they feel safe, and come back to the body breathing or to the anchor of seeing. And then we come back into an inquiry. I will just ask, is there anyone here who would like to share something about their experience? And it's amazing to see that all the things that we encounter in the 8-week course are coming back in that inquiry as well. And what strikes me the most, I think, is again and again, what we see when we look longer that we didn't see in the first moments that we open our eyes, which is such a strong and powerful lesson to take with us. And what I see is not reality, it's not the fact, and it's not the same as somebody else sees. And that are two things that whichever group we're working with every gallery space we're in, that always comes up in the programs in the inquiry.
It's so interesting to hear about how just connecting with one of our senses, seeing, has so many impacts on how we are, and it's unique to the individual. I love the way you said, yeah, there's going to be art pieces that you really like, and others that maybe not so much, and noticing the different ways in which the body and the heart, the mind responds to what is taken in from just one sense doorway, and that you're able to hear from people about what that experience is like. So is there then some follow-up to hear from people later on who maybe are like, I want to learn more about this mindfulness stuff or this artist or whatever it is? What are some of the things that happen from that initial encounter with mindfulness and art?
Well, we're very happy that a lot of museums now are bringing 3-week programs or 6-week programs. So we have widened the program, which is very honorable to do as well. We really see that we support people coming in the museums, we support communities there. And afterwards, well, we have an educational part in the meditation, just like the Dhamma talk is there in our meditation practice. We have an educational part. It's the same way as we have a Dhamma talk in the meditation, where we share a bit about the artist, what the story is of the artwork, what are you looking at, and share a bit about the message of the museum, which they hope that you will bring home with you. And this is very interesting because a lot of people think, please stop talking. I have my own story. You're bothering me in my wonderful fantasization that I had at this moment. Stop talking now, please. And other people are like, yes, please. I don't know what I'm looking at. Please help me out there. So we can really address the fantasizing mind that comes up, the analyzing mind that comes up, which is very, very interesting. So we have conversations with people afterwards, and every museum really supportive about people who wanted to learn more about the mindfulness, to help them find a certified trainer to come into the 8-week course. So this is a very strong, powerful way of bringing mindfulness in museums, but then bring it back to the 8-week course as well, and see if we can support people who can help this, who can be supported with the 8-week course. Because some people who come in are familiar with mindfulness, and a lot of people, they're not. And they're like, is this mindfulness practice as well? Is it okay that I keep my eyes open? Is it okay that I'm standing? This is not what I thought it was. And this is what the young adults especially take home after the mindfulness practice. They come in, they have a practice with Headspace app or somewhat, and they get stuck at home in the practice. And with me, with me or one of my colleagues, they see that it's okay to walk around. It's okay to keep your eyes open. It's okay to move your body if that's helpful for you. And they go home with a new skill and coming back to their own practice. And often what they do is that they translate it into a spoken word or into a poem or to a dance rhythm that sometimes they send me, and I receive that. And we have a new conversation about how they have encountered their own inner world through arts.
So, what would you like to see happen next, or continuing with this? Or perhaps what are you interested in seeing just within the field of mindfulness?
Mm. Mm. I'm really hoping I'm aiming to foster a network of galleries of mindfulness trainers, of art therapists, people who are scientifically involved with the research on neuroart, so what happens with the brain when we encounter art, and a mindfulness practice. Last year, I have schooled 12 Dutch mindfulness trainers to teach mindfulness in museums. So they help me out now. We're broadening the programs into the Dutch work field and in Belgium and Germany as well. And at this moment, I'm investigating with the Oxford Mindfulness Foundation to see if we can come into an international teacher training into mindfulness and art. So that's very interesting, of course. And the mindfulness in museums is becoming a foundation. And I'm really hoping to engage with as well the mindfulness work field as the museum work field to see if we can widen our programs through Europe or the world. I don't know. Yeah.
All right. Well, for those who are interested and want to learn more about this, and in the interest of spreading this information, being able to help with that, I will have links where links are found on these podcasts, so you can check those out for yourself if you want to find out more. And our guest today, Jolien Posthumus. Jolien, thank you so much for being here. Really glad to speak with you and learn more about art, mindfulness, and mental health.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining today. And again, if you're getting something out of these conversations, please do subscribe to the podcast. And remember, every moment you have a choice. Just make it the best you can. And I'll see you next time on Mindfulness Voyage.